Once in a while on stream, I will get a question from a new player about what character they should try since they are new to the game. We'll then go over things such as what their fighting game background is and what playstyle they feel attracted to. We'll eventually settle on a pool of few characters to try out, but then this dreaded comment is made. But isn't that character weak? After asking a few more questions, I realized that this thought is influenced by a character tier list that they found on social media. So, in this video we're going to talk about tier lists. What are they and why should you care? In our usual fashion, we're going to break things down logically, so even if some of you may know where I'm going with this video, there may be some takeaways from it, so stay tuned. Before we attempt to answer the question, we first need to understand what a fighting game character tier list is. A tier list is a classification chart made by an individual or group to order how strong characters are relative to the rest of the cast. Characters that have a higher chance of winning are put higher on the tier list, while the opposite are put lower. It sounds simple on a superficial level, but the reality is far from it. This is because most of these lists have no universal set of criteria defining what makes a character strong or weak, and oftentimes they are based off of personal experience and feelings. And we all know feelings aren't universal or scientific. But if we were to standardize the criteria, it would probably be based on these three things. Number 1. Character strength and weaknesses are considered through the latest metagame and highest level of play. This is used to understand a character's highest potential to theoretically create number 2, which is the character matchup. Each character will have a different level of difficulty based on the opponent it faces. For example, a grappler may have an advantage against a short-ranged character, but may suffer against zoners. Generally, characters with more advantageous matchups will rank higher than the ones that do not. Lastly, number 3, tournament results. These generally create a good indication on whether or not the theoretical matchups made on number 2 are realistic or not. With all that said, it requires a fair amount of knowledge, experience, and data to form a believable tier list. Most individuals, even the top level players, cannot provide this since they can only play at most a few characters at the highest of levels. You can see this in events such as Street Fighter V League, where a player's character is banned, and the player is forced to select a character that they have much less knowledge and experience in. The resulting match usually ends in a disappointing performance. And even if the individual makes a matchup list for the characters they have expertise in, it all might depend on the level of players that are around them. For example, if the only Ino user around is a player of my caliber, they may have a notion of, well, she's an annoying character, but easily manageable. While if they had someone like Tanoshi Ino or Marlin Cake around them, they would probably have a vastly different opinion. But before you conclude that all tier lists should be taken with a grain of salt, there are tier lists made by knowledgeable groups that take a more robust approach. An example would be Super Smash Bros. Melee tier list made by the Smash Backroom. For those who do not know, Smash Backroom is a subsection of Smashboard's forum where only the highly regarded players and tournament organizers are allowed to view and post. These groups of experts create a tier list based on all the criteria stated previously and even quantify the results. Such tier lists are much more robust and may accurately represent the meta. Well, that was long, but we're finally able to get to the main point of this video. Should tier lists matter to you? Let's continue with the opening story and say you're a new player who found a robust tier list and you're deciding a character to play. Should that list affect who you choose? Should you take a lesson from the School of Kelly Business and let the character do the work for you?
If I pick the top tier, just pick a top tier. You want to win, yo? Top tier.
The answer is, you can. Choices such as these are completely up to the player, and if a player wants to pick a character that is deemed strong, they should go for it. However, I personally wouldn't, because there are a few important details that the tier lists won't tell you. And without knowing these, the journey of getting good with a top tier character may not be a great one. Let's see what some of these details are. First, just because a character is top tier, it won't necessarily mean that you will have an easier time winning. Some characters are quite difficult to play and may only become top tier when a large portion of the skill set for that character is mastered. I'm going to use Street Fighter 3 Third Strike as an example because many of us probably heard that Yun is one of the strongest characters in the game. Yun's strength revolves heavily around his super art called Gen Aging, where he goes into God tier mode for a short period of time. During this time, all his moves come out faster, get high priority, and the majority becomes comboable. It's so strong that most of the time, opponents will just run or block because they simply cannot challenge it without risking the chance of eating a destructive combo. And even then, they will still probably eat a destructive combo because Yun has a command grab. What makes things worse is that the super art bar is incredibly short, so good Yun players will get Genajin multiple times in a round. This kind of enormous strength is quite enticing, and may give the illusion that if we pick this character, we'll be winning in no time. Unfortunately, that probably will not be the case. Yun's Genajin combos are mechanically difficult for the average player. If you wanted to play anywhere near optimal, you would need to change combos based on screen location, how much Genajin time you have left, whether or not you want damage or meter, and opponent character. These take quite a long time to master, and frankly, Genajin isn't so great if you can't do all of this in a consistent manner. Since the character is so heavily reliant on it, it'll be rough as a player if you don't have a good handle on it. Because of this, Yun is a character that is top tier only at the higher levels. So if you pick this character thinking that it will get you easy wins, you're most likely going to regret it. Of course, this won't be the case for every top tier character because for every Yin, there is a Yan. For every Yun, there is a Yan. For every Yun, there is a Chun-Li. But remember that just because a character is top tier, it won't necessarily mean that it will be easy to play. The second aspect are patches and meta shifts. Many fighting games will go through changes as the game meta and development progresses, and sometimes these changes will drastically alter the strengths and weaknesses of a character. So if you're playing a game that's still planning on new seasons and upgrades, there's a high chance that the character tier list would shift. For example, in Street Fighter V Season 1, Chun-Li, Nash, and Liu were regarded as strong characters, but as the seasons went on, many of them dropped lower in the tier list. And even for games that do not have patches, tier lists can still shift based on the meta. Players might find new techniques or become consistently better at difficult ones. A great example would be Super Smash Bros. Melee, as characters like Yoshi and Ice Climbers have gone up the tier list years after the release of the game. So, if you pick a character solely based on tier now, you might regret it later when the meta shifts. The last one is probably the most important for a lot of us. It's the reason why we play fighting games, it's the reason why we do it with certain characters, and it's the reason why we spend so much time with the friends that we love. It's the F word. Fun. Oh my days, it's fun. When you pigeonhole yourself in picking a character out of top tiers, you might miss the opportunity of discovering a lower tier character that may be more enjoyable for you. I'm certainly not saying top tier characters aren't fun. I personally play Chun-Li in Third Strike because I get enjoyment out of her, but I can also understand why no one plays her at my locals. She's quite basic and boring to most people. And if you're one of those people, you shouldn't play Chun-Li just because she gets you higher chances of winning. Because why would you play something that you don't enjoy? With all that said, I don't think tier lists themselves should matter too much for the most of us, especially if you're using it to decide on a character you want to play. If you want to take a robust tier list seriously, you should probably only look into the details on the matchups for the character you play. At least then, you can start asking why a certain character has an advantage or disadvantage over your character. But overall, what are you going to do with the data that just simply points out that character X is generally better than character Y? Are you going to shame players that use characters better than yours when they beat you? That makes no sense. Why would anybody... Oh. Thanks for checking out our video. This was a bit different from our usual tech-heavy stuff, so let me know what you think in the comments. We make various fighting game related videos, so if that's your thing, consider donating or becoming a patron. This channel is solely funded by viewers like you, so it'll mean a lot to me. Alright, till next time, have fun with fighting games.